Hello and welcome to Angry Andy Reviews, and this is my review and final thoughts on the Obi-Wan Kenobi series and looking at the final episode in particular. So, this episode, narratively, is quite brisk. It gets on with it, gets straight to the point, and we start off with Reva on Tatooine looking for Owen Lars, and she's told where to go. No problem, belting, by some random geezer who she saves from being beaten up by a bully, bizarrely enough. So she's both good and evil at this point, I think. I'm not sure. Who really knows? And then we cut to Obi-Wan Kenobi on the rebel transport, or proto-rebels as I like to call them, and they're being chased by Vader's Imperial Star Destroyer, the name of which escapes me. I did look it up as part of a recent review episode with the attention-seeking geek. What a geezer. Thank you very much for having me on. But yeah, so they're being chased. The hyperdrive's not working, of course, and Obi-Wan concocts a plan in order to lure Vader away, and Vader is persistent. He wants Kenobi at all costs. So Kenobi escapes on this little transport, moving away at a brisk pace, away from the Empire, and he leaves behind Leia. He tells Leia, everything that she's capable of and what she can do, and it's really touching. Some of the best things in this series, I think, have been the chemistry and the dialogue between Ewan McGregor and this young actress, again, whose name escapes me, and I keep forgetting the name, and I apologise, but she's really good as young Leia. She's one of the highlights of this series, I think, alongside Ewan McGregor's performance, and they work so well together. It's almost like a separate writer did all the dialogue for them, and, credit to them. They saved this series from being down there, really down there for me. So there's a really touching moment where Kenobi leaves her and he gives her a blaster holster that belonged to Tala, who sacrificed herself in the last episode by exploding herself with a thermal detonator. And this blaster holster is perfectly undamaged. There's no bits and pieces of Tala on there, which you would expect, or any scorch marks for that matter. But it's meant to be touching, and it's yet another example of Disney Star Wars explaining where the smallest items came from, much like Han Solo's dice, or how his blaster was just pieced together like Lego in Solo, A Star Wars Story. Christ almighty. But anyway, moving on briskly. Kenobi leaves, and Vader, is like, follow that ship, follow Kenobi. And the Inquisitor, rightly so, goes, sir, should we not just chase the rebels down and, these proto-rebels, and destroy them, and find, the path, and we can end this right here. We can pretty much end the Rebel Alliance before it even begins, when you really think about it. And Vader's like, nah, I want that cunt. I want that son of a bitch. Go after Kenobi. And it's funny. Really, because Vader chases him to this planet, and then he gets in his shuttle and lands on the planet, and you're like, well, hang on, could you not have just got in your shuttle, because Kenobi's in this shuttle, which is not moving very quick, really. It's evading all these blaster fire, even though you're using full power on the Star Destroyer. A bit ridiculous that you're missing every shot. It's like the Stormtroopers' inaccuracy is transferred into the Star Destroyers now. But yeah, so Vader could have got in his transport and chased after Kenobi, while the Inquisitor, the Grand Inquisitor, Rupert Friend, tremendous actor, very underutilized in this series, while he goes after the rebels and the Star Destroyer. But no, writing dictates that the Star Destroyer must follow Kenobi before he's able to, before Vader can use his shuttle, even though we know for a fact that Vader's shuttle has light speed capability. No problem, writing. But what ensues is a sequence after we revisit Reva. She turns up at the Lars homestead looking all angry and confused, and we're all confused because we're like, didn't your plot end in the last episode? You should really be dead. You've been stabbed through the stomach. But it carries on. She's there, and Owen and Beru Lars, they concoct a Home Alone style trap to stop her. And credit to them, Baru's like, "No, we're not running. We're going to face her, and we're going to do her in." And Owens is like, "All right then, fine. We could just run. There's nothing bad about it." But Baru's like, "Nah, we're gonna shoot this son of a bitch," and it's quite funny. It's hilarious. It just shows how Reva's supposed to be an inquisitor, and she's getting pinned down by 2 farmers with blasters. Come on, really? Come on. Oh, but plot armor, I guess. Anyway, we focus in on the battle between Obi-Wan Kenobi and Vader, and credit where it's due, the fighting is superb. I have tremendous issue with the lighting. As part of the discussion panel I did on the Attention Seeking Geeks channel, there was sort of like debate whether the lighting was decent, for what it is. And yeah, I understand the creative choices, but I didn't like it. It's too dark for the amount of edits within the fight. I'm a firm believer in fight choreography. If it's solid, maintain the shot. And this fight is edited really choppily. Strike, couple of strikes, edit. Couple of strikes, edit. Couple of strikes, cut to a different angle. When you think back to The Phantom Menace, when they do those wide angle shots where there's multiple strikes, a couple of flips, a couple of movements, good fight choreography does not require edits. Something at issue here. And the greatest example I can give you is from The Phantom Menace, when Obi-Wan faces Maul for the last time. When there's that pure, unadulterated rage because Qui-Gon's been attacked and, been mortally wounded. Poor Qui-Gon, by the way. Everyone's getting stabbed in the stomach, and he's just like, "Oh, all right then, fine, cheers, thanks for that." But yeah, going back, that choreography, single shot for a good 20 seconds, 25 seconds, that's good choreography, that's good fighting. That's when you know it's shot perfectly well. This, it's choppy. But that doesn't take away from how, impactful the scene is. I'll give you that. There are some really good moments. Vader gets the high ground at one point, throws a load of rocks. Yeah, how he can't sense that Obi-Wan is still alive at that point is up for debate. Again, writing, plot. Yeah, and the only thing for me is that it does lack a certain amount of tension, because we know there is no sort of either-or scenario in this. Nobody's going to die. Nobody's going to be mortally wounded. The only thing we do get is a showcase of how Anakin's humanity is completely lost at this point. I think this is where the key good bit of the fight comes in. Obi-Wan smashes his helmet with a lightsaber and cuts it down the middle, cuts it down the side, similar to what we've seen previously in like the Force Unleashed games and in Rebels with Ahsoka. In fact, it's pretty much a carbon copy cut as it is to Ahsoka's strike on Vader in Rebels. Is it as powerful as that moment? For me, no. I think Ahsoka's moment's more powerful. But in this, what sells this scene particularly is Ewan McGregor's performance. He tears up, the emotion overwhelms him in this scene, and we see Hayden Christensen looking through the gap in the helmet, and we get a really sort of emotionally charged moment where Vader basically says, "You didn't fail, I chose this," in a way. I'm paraphrasing, but he's almost like he's saying, "You didn't fail me, I made this choice, I became this because I wanted to," almost to that effect. Like I said, I'm paraphrasing. And we get this like a wry smirk on Anakin's face that you can see, and there's a voice modulation difference, so we hear James Earl Jones' voice as well as Hayden Christensen's voice, reverberating. It's really well done. Again, coming away from the lighting and the editing in that scene, I think much of it is more impactful in that final moment. And we get a parallel to, obviously, Rebels as well, where Obi-Wan just walks away, leaves him again, not to die, but obviously leaves him sort of heavily wounded. And Vader just screams Obi-Wan twice, quite loud, and it parallels with what we saw with Maul in Rebels, where he's shouting Kenobi in the middle of the desert. Again, a lot of parallels to what we've seen before. Whether it's as impactful or not, I'm not entirely sure. I don't think it is for me. So So yeah, Obi-Wan leaves, and we return to the Home Alone adventure where Reva is, battling Owen and Beru, and obviously she doesn't kill them, even though we've seen her, chop people's hands off for less. She just knocks them over. They fall over a couple of Lego bricks, and then she goes after Luke in the desert, and she force pushes Luke, and he sort of bangs his head, and he's unconscious. So we avoid that plot issue of him, not seeing the lightsaber and not knowing what Jedi are really, okay. And she's about to strike Luke, and she sees all this vision of herself in Luke's place, and she has this final revelation, which I thought we got in the previous episode, where she realizes who she really is. It doesn't really play that well, because we had that moment in the previous episode before she attempted to strike Vader down. It's like they almost did the Martin Scorsese thing of going, well, the film should have ended half an hour ago, but we're going to carry on. No, her story ended for me in that 5th episode. When she attempts to strike Vader, she gives them time to escape. Whether she meant it or not, the revelation is there of who she really is. Yes, she wanted revenge. Fine, fair enough. I also don't buy the fact that she's been pretending to be evil this entire time. That doesn't work for me. It's too convenient. It's too convenient that she's been a shadow puppet this entire time. Her rage was there when she chopped the poor lady's hand off. Her rage was there when she tried to kill the Jedi in the bar before the Grand Inquisitor stopped the knife. There's too many easy answers. I don't think enough depth has been given to her character to justify her just being undercover, pretending to be evil. I just don't believe the character, and it's disappointing because in this final sequence, we see some real deep emotional investment from the actress in this. And it's a shame that the writing wasn't there for her earlier on in the series. She doesn't deserve anything that's happened to her, on Instagram or anything like that. It's not to do with her race or anything like that. It's purely down to the writing. And I think that's where I am with it. She deserved better writing, because I think her performance is there. I think the character could have been there if the writing was much better. But coincidentally enough, Obi-Wan, when he leaves the fight with Vader, he jumps to hyperspace. And you're just going, okay, well, this shuttle you were on before with the rebels, could you not have just, could they not have hardwired the hyperdrive from that to escape? Could you not have swapped ships and put all the civilians on that little shuttle, maybe? No, it could have been a squeeze. But, writing. And all sense of how long it takes to get across places from one planet to another is completely lost in this. Obi-Wan goes to hyperspace, he senses that Reva is about to strike Luke, and he jumps to hyperspace, and he's there just in time for her to get back to the homestead. I distinctly remember the journey from Tatooine to Alderaan taking several hours, enough time for Luke to do some training with Obi-Wan, but time and journeys these days in Star Wars, who really cares, eh? What a nitpick that is, I guess, but hey, writing, we need to get everybody in place for the finale, don't we? And we get the finale. We get a touching moment where Reva sort of says, I don't want to be this, and Obi-Wan's like, yeah, nah, it'd be fine. You've honoured them, you've honoured your fallen comrades, conveniently forgetting the amount of people she's probably killed and assassinated, and all the Jedi she's probably killed and assassinated in the years prior. No issues, no problem. We'll just conveniently forget that. But then we move into the sullen ending, and we see a delightful moment where Obi-Wan is reunited with Leia on Alderaan, and immediately she runs straight over to Lola rather than Obi-Wan. Okay, no problem. But then we do get a lovely moment where Obi-Wan tells Leia, not strictly saying names, but she says, you've been given a gift of bravery from your mother, and you've been given a gift of, courage and determination from your father. Something like, I'm paraphrasing again, I can't remember exactly what. But it's a wonderful little moment, and again, it highlights that chemistry between the two of them. It highlights that writing between the two of them. It's the best part of the episode for me. is that little bit of writing alongside the fight sort of confrontation. It's the best part. It's really well done. It's really really nice. It's really loving as well. And then we move to obviously Obi-Wan returning to Tatooine, and he sees Luke, and we get a lovely moment of him going over. Owen allows Kenobi to go and say hello to Luke, and he does the old "hello there." Oh, good fan service. We love it, don't we? So again, it's a little moment. Luke doesn't really say much, doesn't do much. It just cuts away, and then we get another fan servicey moment, which is a bit ridiculous. I didn't like it. Kenobi's walking through the desert, and Qui-Gon's just there. Hiya, how you doing? Obi-Wan's like, where have you been? Been asking for you for ages. What you been doing? He's like, nah, you weren't ready. Piss off. It's been 10 years, you bastard. Yeah, but you weren't ready though. Alright then. Come on, let's go and have an adventure. And we leave the door open for season 2 there with Kenobi and Qui-Gon, their mystery Jedi adventures. And it's a bit pointless at this point, I think. I think the Qui-Gon sort of appearing should have come much earlier when Obi-Wan is looking to find his abilities, to regain his connection to the Force. It should have been Qui-Gon was the one that going, it's not your fault, you didn't fail, Anakin. Trust in the Force, rather than him just appearing after the series is pretty much finished and going, well, you silly bastard, look at you, oh, you got so uppity in yourself that you couldn't see me. Oh. All right, 0 impact, 0 point, pure unadulterated fan bloody service from Disney. But that's what they specialise in the minute, don't they? They do it in the Marvel films. It's only, right, they're going to start doing it in Star Wars films, where they're just pumping in, cameos galore and fan service galore and Easter eggs galore. And there we go, it draws to a close. The series draws to a close. We see Vader talking to the Emperor at one point, and again, it's all just fan service. There's buzz dialogue, as, I wonder if your thoughts are clear on this, Lord Vader, echoing, his connection with Luke towards the end. It's all just buzz dialogue that we've heard before, fan service dialogue that we all recognise from the previous films. And that is what this series has been for me. It's been a yo-yo adventure. It's been up and down, it's been fan service, overload 1 minute, and then great storytelling in the middle, pointless wheezing dialogue between characters, and then we get really good dialogue between Kenobi and Leia, and then we get choppy action sequences that feel really laboured, like in Episode 4 and the Inquisitor's base, and then we get really good action set pieces, on Jabim. And, we get actual impact. We actually get, pain and death. And then it's just a yo-yo. And unfortunately for me, that leaves me in a position where I'm feeling smack bang in the middle with this series. There've been really great moments, and yet there have been really awful moments. And I have to look at it in that sort of way. I have to judge it in that sort of way. And for me, I am sitting at a 5 out of 10. It's an okay show. A 5 out of 10 isn't a terrible score. It's just okay. It doesn't change anything for me. It's abundantly poor in a lot of places, and it's abundantly great in a lot of places. It's just so inconsistent. And Disney Star Wars, Boba Fett was horribly inconsistent. Much worse than this. Horribly inconsistent. And that's the problem. The storytelling is inconsistent, the writing is inconsistent, the characters are inconsistent in choice, delivery, and the way they're structured. And then at the same time, we'll get really good Vader moments. It's like, well, commit one way or the other, concentrate and give characters the full amount that they deserve, or don't have them in. There are a lot of characters in this series that could have been taken out, and it's funny, I don't even remember their names. Like Tala, really good character. I remember her name. Solid character. Ice Cube's son. I cannot remember his name. I cannot remember the character's name because he's just there to provide counterpoint dialogue to everything that Kenobi wants to do. Like, oh no, but we should do this. And then we get Kumail Nanjiani as well, who played a really good part in episode 3, or was it episode 2? I can't remember, where he's pretending to be a Jedi. And then he's just there after that, doing nothing, serving as comedy relief. Well, no, we don't fucking need it. We don't need it. You played a really good part. Let the character finish there. I think that's the thing with Disney Star Wars overall. The characters continue on. They get dragged through the mire of stuff that they don't need to be involved with, purely to service delivering buzzword dialogue, delivering plot points, because it's almost as if they don't believe we understand the plot. So these other characters are there going, well, oh, but we could do this. Oh, well, oh, but if you do that, Kenobi, then, oh, fucking hell, everyone's going to die. Trust in the lead character. We don't need to be told everything. And that's the problem with this show. A lot of it we were told exactly what was going to happen, and then other parts were left too ambiguous for too long. So there we go. A 5 out of 10 series for me. And this has been a much longer review than I anticipated, but there you go. Yeah, I don't want a sequel, and I think they're gearing up to give us a sequel. I don't want a sequel. I don't want to see a series entirely centered around Reva either. I think if they're going to do something with her, they should probably look at connecting her with another sort of character, another sort of thing, or take her somewhere else entirely. Just don't. Yeah. I don't know, and I'm not entirely sure if I want a Vader series either. At this point, I think where we need to look at going with Star Wars is exactly what Taika Waititi has said recently. He said, if I'm going to be involved in Star Wars, then I need to create brand new stories, take it somewhere it's never been before. I think we're at that point with Star Wars. Nostalgia is all well and good, and people are lapping it up. Fair play. If you really like this series, fair play to you. Credit to you for being able to just absorb it as it is, and love it for what it is. But I love it as much as the next person. My entire life surrounds Star Wars, but I crave fresh ideas and fresh stories away from the monotonous repetitiveness that has been, what we've received so far. And yay, okay, the sequel trilogy was different and new and fresh. It was, and yet it wasn't. We need to start afresh. We need to create something entirely new if this is to survive. But there we go. That's a debate for another day, and maybe we'll talk about that at another time when a new movie comes out, and we'll see what happens. But next is Andor. I wonder what's going to happen there. Until then, thank you very much for watching. Bye-bye.